She came to Family Feud with her husband. She smiled for the cameras. She wore a matching team shirt with his name on the back. And then, under the brightest lights on daytime television, in front of a studio audience of 200 people and millions more at home, she told Steve Harvey everything. Not because she planned to. Not because she'd rehearsed it. Because Steve Harvey asked the wrong question. Or maybe exactly the right one. And when it was over, the husband couldn't speak. The audience couldn't speak. And Steve Harvey stood at the center of it all, with nothing left to say. The Kendrick family team had arrived at the studio looking polished and put together. There was Deshaun, broad-shouldered, easy smile, the kind of man who fills a room without trying. His wife, Priya, was visibly pregnant, perhaps 6 months along, wearing her team shirt altered to accommodate her belly. With them were Deshaun's brother, his cousin, and his mother, Gloria, who had flown in from Charlotte specifically for the occasion. They'd won their first appearance the previous week. This was the second episode. The return match, which carries its own electricity. You've tasted it. You know what it feels like. You come back hungry. The pre-show energy was good. Priya laughed easily during the warm-up. Deshaun was competitive and animated. Gloria was the kind of woman who immediately becomes everyone's favorite, loud in the best way, committed to the game, fully present. From the outside, they were a great family. The kind of family you root for. The kind of family that makes a television audience feel good. From the inside, Priya Kendrick was 4 months into knowing that her husband was someone she did not recognize. She had found out by accident, the way most people find out, a phone left unlocked, a message from a name she didn't recognize, a moment of ordinary curiosity that turned into something that rewired her entire understanding of her life. The other woman's name wasn't important. What was important was the timeline, the overlap. The dates that mapped against dates Priya knew by heart, their anniversary dinner, the weekend she'd been sick with the first trimester exhaustion, and Deshaun had stayed late at work. The Tuesday she'd texted him 7 times, and he'd answered each one with one word, distracted, somewhere else entirely. She was 3 months pregnant when she found out. She had not told Deshaun she knew. She had not told anyone. Not her mother, not her sister, not her best friend. She had carried it alone, in the private room at the back of her chest, where she kept the things too heavy to say out loud. Why had she stayed? Why had she come to the taping? She explained it later in an interview, quietly. Because I didn't know what I was going to do yet. Because when you find out something like that, you don't immediately know who you are or what you want. You just keep moving. You keep going to work. You keep going to the grocery store. You go to the game show taping that was already planned. You keep moving, because stopping is the scariest thing. The Kendricks played well. Deshaun was sharp and competitive. Priya was focused, answering with the quiet precision of someone who has been very good at performing normal for several months. Gloria had the audience in stitches with her commentary. They advanced to the fast money round with $22,000 banked. Priya played first, scoring a solid 142 points on her solo round. Deshaun went second. The fast money questions moved quickly, as they always do. Steve asked, "Name something a man might hide from his wife." It was a standard survey question, the kind Family Feud asks regularly, the kind of question that usually gets answers like a purchase or his weight or a bad grade on a report card. Deshaun answered without hesitation, spending money. The board lit up. Solid answer. Steve asked the next question. And the next. The game moved forward the way games move forward. But in the contestant waiting area, visible to the camera operators stationed on the far side of the stage, something was happening with Priya. She was very still. When Deshawn came off the Fast Money podium, they'd scored 188 points, just 12 short of the jackpot, which meant they left with their $22,000 but not the $30,000 bonus. The family gathered at center stage for the wrap-up segment. This is the part of the show that is mostly warmth and goodbyes. Steve circulates among the family members, getting their reactions, giving everyone a moment. It's loose and casual. It's the cool down. Steve came to Priya last, as he sometimes does with the most visually compelling person on the team, the pregnant wife being an obvious draw for a final, warm, feel-good moment before the break. "How are you feeling, Mama?" he asked, his signature warmth fully deployed. "You doing okay? How many months?" 6, Priya said. 6 months, and you out here competing. Girl, you are something else. He gestured at her belly. Does this little one know yet that they've got a champion for a mama? Priya smiled. And then the smile didn't quite hold. Steve Harvey, who has been reading people on stage for over 2 decades, noticed. He paused, tilted his head slightly. The showman in him knew to move on. The clock was ticking. The segment needed to wrap. The human being in him said something different. "You all right?" he said, quieter, just to her. And Priya Kendrick, who had been carrying this alone for 4 months, who had stayed silent through morning sickness and ultrasounds and the nursery she'd started painting by herself, who had come to a game show taping because stopping was the scariest thing, looked at Steve Harvey and began to cry. Not a dramatic cry. Not a performance. The specific, quiet, devastating cry of someone who has been very strong for a very long time and has just run out. "No," she said. "I'm not okay." The studio did not know what to do with itself. Steve Harvey had one hand raised toward his ear mic, a subtle signal to the director, "Wait, hold on, don't cut away." His eyes were entirely on Priya. Deshawn had gone rigid beside her. His face had changed. Steve spoke to Priya gently, carefully, the way you speak to someone standing at the edge of something. "Do you want to talk about it? You don't have to. But we're right here." And Priya talked. Not everything, not all the details, not the name or the dates or the specific proof she'd assembled in a folder on her phone. But the truth of it. She had found out her husband was not who she thought he was. She was 6 months pregnant. She didn't know what she was going to do. She had been pretending, she said, pretending everything was fine, coming to the show, wearing the matching shirt, smiling in the green room, because she did not know what else to do. The studio was the quietest it had ever been. Steve Harvey looked at her for a long time. Then he looked at Deshawn. Deshawn was not looking at anyone. He was looking at the floor with the expression of a man watching the ground open beneath him, which in fact it was. Steve turned back to the audience. He spread his hands, the gesture he uses when words are taking a moment to arrive. "I've been doing this show for years," he said slowly. "Years, and I have never—" He stopped, touched his forehead. "I have never been standing somewhere and felt like I needed to just be quiet and respect what's happening in front of me. So that's what I'm going to do." He was quiet. The audience was quiet. Production stopped. It was a mutual, obvious decision. Nobody announced it. Nobody argued. The floor director gave the signal, and cameras went to holding positions. Gloria, Deshawn's mother, moved to Priya's side. She put her arm around her daughter-in-law's shoulders. She did not look at her son. Steve Harvey stayed nearby, but gave the family their space. He spoke quietly to the floor producer for a few minutes. He was seen shaking his head several times. When the cameras resumed, the segment was handled differently than planned. Steve addressed the audience directly. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to honor this family, all of them, because they did something brave today. Not just playing the game. Being Human Beings. Priya Kendrick gave 2 interviews in the months that followed, both through the show's communications team who connected her with a producer who had quietly offered to help coordinate. In the first interview, published when her daughter was 6 weeks old, she said, "I didn't plan to say anything. I don't know why I said it. I think I'd just been holding it for so long that when someone who seemed kind asked me if I was okay, my mouth answered before my brain could stop it." She and Deshaun did not reconcile. They separated 2 months after the taping. The divorce was filed quietly. She said this about Steve Harvey: "He didn't try to fix it. He didn't try to make it a moment. He just stopped. He stood there, and he let it be real. That mattered more than I can say." Her daughter was named Amara. Deshaun attended the birth. What does it mean to be seen? Not performed at. Not made into content. Not smoothed over into something more comfortable. What does it mean for someone to look at you when you are cracking open and simply say, "We're right here"? Priya came to Family Feud to play a game. She left having said the truest thing she'd said in 4 months. Steve Harvey left having done the thing that no amount of television experience teaches you. He put down the host and picked up the person. Those of us watching from home got something most television never delivers: an unscripted, unplanned, utterly real glimpse of what people are actually carrying around inside them while they smile and wear their matching shirts. Share this story with someone who needs to know they're not alone in what they're carrying. Subscribe, and remember, when someone asks if you're okay, it's all right to tell the truth. Even on national television. Especially on national television.